The Night Flier is a 1997 film based off the Stephen King short story of the same name. The film debuted on HBO before being picked up for a theatrical release. The film follows a reporter investigating a series of murders done by a vampire who flies planes. It's directed by Pavia and stars Miguel Ferrer. Ferrer, I don't care. Guys, blah. This is the worst Stephen King adaptation I've seen so far. Bold statement, I know, but it is. Everything about this movie is pure chaos and bleh. You know, they all had a bit of charm, like Maximum Overdrive. Is it the best movie? No, it's pretty bad, but at the end of the day, Cocaine directed that movie, and you can kind of get behind it. But this movie here, The Night Flier, is just really painfully average. Even before starting the movie, the poster of the movie is absolute ass. That poster looks like it was done on Microsoft Word in 1998. It just has that really shitty look to it. And there's a bat on the poster. And the vampire doesn't turn into a bat in this movie, which is weird. You would expect a vampire to turn into a bat. Vampires have the power to transform into anything they want, and most famously, vampires turn into bats. But in this movie, the vampire has to fly a plane. Why? I don't know. So just by looking at the poster, I knew this movie was going to be absolute ass. And the movie starts, and it confirmed it. This movie looks like it was filmed, I'm not exaggerating, it looks like it was filmed in 1975. This movie came out in 1997. No movie in 1997 should look like this. It just looks really bad. The story that's going on is that you have this vampire flying around and he's causing havoc, and you got two reporters that are trying to break the big story. One is your seasoned reporter who's a little edgy and kind of reminds me of a typical noir detective character, and the other is the up-and-coming, on-the-rise girl reporter, and they're both butting heads with one another. And I'm thinking this whole time we're going to follow the female reporter, because she's the one that's the underdog, and just the way movies work, you always follow the underdog. But in this movie, you don't follow her. The main character is the shitty guy reporter who's a bit of an asshole. Which, okay, fine, I can get behind. But then halfway through the movie, this guy has zero redeeming qualities. He's not funny. He's not charismatic. He's just an overall douche. He's cocky. And I'm like, why am I rooting for this guy? And they totally sideline the other reporter. They lock her in the closet halfway through the movie, and you're just left following the guy reporter.
Way too easy.
Deez! What are you doing? Let me go! Deez! Deez, open this door! Deez, open this door! What, are you crazy?
And at the end, spoilers I guess, the guy bites the dust. And the girl reporter is the one who takes his place in an evil maniacal laughter. And I'm like, why am I not following the girl? Why am I following the guy character? I'm really confused. They're both hired by this dickhead J. Jonah Jameson wannabe who is really on the nose in this movie. Don't get me wrong, I love J. Jonah Jameson. He's a classic comic book character and he's perfectly portrayed by J.K. Simmons. But in this movie, the boss is just an asshole, and it's like some lame attempt at social commentary about how media's rooting for a disaster to happen just to get a couple of views. It's just such a shitty boss character, and it was really poorly done. The boss says a line in this movie that's really on the nose. He says, "I hired her because she's good. Nice ass, too."
So, what do you think of Catherine?
No, Jimmy Olsen. She doesn't have much experience, but she's sharp. Good instincts. Great ass.
There's another really hammy scene where he's like, come on, don't we have something better to write about? A country singer with AIDS? And as if that couldn't get more on your nose, there's even a part where he says, God, can't this thing kill more people?
This is great shit. I mean, the fatties in the supermarket lines are gonna love this guy. God, I hope he kills more people. Look, fax me your copy, send the pictures, let's get going on this.
I mean, that's the kind of subtle dialogue I look for in a movie. The movie is void of scares. It's void of comedy. We already settled that. It's also void of scares. This movie is not scary whatsoever. There are no attempts at being scary. Halfway through the movie, there was a jump scare, and I'm like, finally something scary. But it's just some dog that tricks. You know how the fucking horror movies do it. They'll have a large crash noise and turns around and, what is it? A fucking dog. Wow. I never saw that one coming. And then the ending shit kind of hits the fan, and you're like, finally. The movie lost me completely by that point. But at the end, shit hits the fan. The main character is confronted with the vampire pilot guy, and it's kind of weird and creepy and eerie. And you're like, okay, shit's gonna go down. And this guy is actually pretty frightening looking, this vampire character. The main character is confronted with him, and all of a sudden the vampire starts talking.
I've been watching you, Dees. I've been watching you very closely. Yes, I know you, you see. I know all about you.
And I get it, vampires talk, I get it. It's just, it took me so out of it because his voice was just not scary whatsoever. It just sounded like, ooh, I'm a vampire, ugh. And it was like, oh my god, what kind of voice acting is this? As soon as the vampire opens his fat fucking mouth, everything scary is lost about him. And then the dead starts coming back to life and starts haunting the main character, and for some reason, I'm guessing it's for censorship reasons, but the movie goes black and white out of nowhere. If it was a stylistic decision, I don't see why. If it was another reason, censorship, that's what happened with Kill Bill Volume 1. If you guys remember Kill Bill Volume 1, not the Blu-ray release, I believe, but the theatrical release had a segment that was in black and white, and that was to avoid an NC-17 rating. And I don't know if Flier was trying to avoid an R rating or something. That's why they went black and white. Either way, it was distracting. It took me out of the movie. It took me out of Kill Bill Volume 1, and it took me out of this movie as well. So yeah, shitty social commentary, main character that's just so boring to watch, zero redeeming qualities, just an overall a-hole. I was much more invested in the female reporter's plotline, and overall just not scary and very cheap looking. And I don't mind a cheap looking movie, don't get me wrong, I'll watch a B movie every now and then and get a good chuckle out of it, but it just doesn't even deliver on that. It's not even hokey. It's just very boring. It really feels like I'm just watching dialogue the whole time. And I'm like, oh, it was a painful watch. It was very painful to watch this movie. I hope you guys appreciate that I watched this movie. This is the worst movie I've seen on Garage Stephen-King-a-thon. But don't worry, guys. Maybe... I've already seen the next movie. It's not getting better. But maybe, just maybe, the next movie will be better. Who knows, huh? Guys, stay tuned. More Stephen King adaptation reviews coming your way. Oh boy.
You've always wanted to know what hell was like. Now you will know.